wanna get high, man?
Let's stimulate your mind.
Get up, Chucky! What have we got here? A fucking comedian.
Rojan Kim?
Actually, that's perfect. Great.
Okay.
Cool, man. All right, so welcome everybody to Rojan Kim to the Rojan Kim. Yeah, stumble over the title of my own podcast. Welcome to the Rojan Kim cast. It's me, Rojan Kim. Joining me today is Bronston Jones. He is a comedian. That's where I met him. I met him at the Ice House doing comedy, but he's also a filmmaker, right? Actor. Retired. Are you for sure?
No, actually, I'm just on a hiatus. I took a sabbatical from stand-up for a long time, or because of the production side.
Gotcha.
And now I'm taking a sabbatical from production, but I'm finally been dropping into sets, talking to my friends. I'm gearing up to get back into it.
Okay.
And I wouldn't say filmmaker. I was a commercial music video maker.
Okay.
Promo maker. I never made a proper film, but that's why I moved out here.
Would you like to? Is that something? So narrative is something ultimately you'd like to do. I don't know. I feel like that counts. That counts, right? Like, I mean, anybody can be a filmmaker literally if you make Instagram stories now. So I feel like you've actually at
most
least had
filmmakers have never seen film.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we were talking about that before the podcast even started. Just about how we both come from the old days of analog film. We touched. I'm sure. Have you touched your share of film?
I've
touched a lot of things in the dark.
One of my first jobs out of college that was like anything production related is I edited a 16 millimeter documentary film on an actual. Christ, I can't even remember the name of it. What's the flatbed thing with the films running here? The running here.
The Steenbeck or yeah.
That's how long ago it was. I'm like, I don't even remember what it was called.
I just saw someone use one. I never used one myself. But yeah, I totally remember, dude. Yeah.
It was, and so literally you cut the film and you cut you splice.
These kids don't understand like what cutting physical. It actually meant if you fucked up, you fucked up. Like if you actually cut into a frame, you'd be like, oh shit, now you got to tape it and then recut it again. It's like.
And also, if you did something like, say, you pulled a couple frames, and you miscut on the audio side versus the film side, so all of a sudden everything goes out of sync, and you have to kind of scroll through it. You can find it pretty quick because there's a splice. But it's she's like once the Avid really kicked in and I saw how great it was, I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. And now there's 20 different versions of.
So you saw this like transition between the
I'm old, dude.
Linear,
I'm 49.
I'm 41. So I was right behind you there. The first job I was telling you about was the first time Final Cut Pro tried to do film, was spitting out EDLs or whatever, none of this is probably so boring to most people out there, but basically back in the day there was no fucking editing programs except for one, Avid, and then another one came which was Final Cut, and that was a huge deal. That was like the biggest deal because Avid cost you'd have to drop 10, 20 grand to get an Avid going, man.
That was a garbage piece of system, like a proper Avid, like a really super high-end thing that the big pros were using.
Yeah.
You were talking like $250,000 to $400,000 because those were processing really, really high amounts of high resolution.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden when Final Cut really kicked in, you realized that for 10 to 15 grand, you could have a full pro level system because the Apple was such a powerful computer. And then the program, they figured out how to make the program as powerful as the Avid.
And that was all part of the you kind of saw the democratization kind of of filmmaking, because it used to be a pretty high bar you had to kind of get to just have access to the equipment or even own any of it or any of that.
The barrier of entry has basically been completely removed, because the fact of the matter is the early video cameras my iPhone is better camera than all of the early video cameras, and probably even better audio than some of the really crappy ones.
Wow, imagine the thousands of dollars you spent on those old school 720 by 480 cameras and the resolution way worse than your phone basically.
So basically the only thing stopping people, I think, from making a movie now is that they don't just go out and make it, and the only thing stopping people from making a good movie now is the same thing that always stopped people from making a good movie.
Exactly.
They don't know what they're doing when they have the money to do it.
Right.
Most movies suck.
And in general, isn't that art art in general is just like that, right? Because there used to be a time where nobody knew how to even read or write, and now everybody has Microsoft Word, but it doesn't mean that we're all pumping out novels. You know, like
we're
it's
using emojis.
Yeah, thank goodness for that. We're going back to hieroglyphics, and I think that's really the way of the future. We don't have time, Bronston. There's not enough time.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I love emojis. As a 49-year-old man, I find it so amusing to send people emojis.
Do you mind holding the mic a little bit closer?
We'll do it.
Yeah.
I love sending emojis, and and what I tend to do is every now and then somebody that I don't know is I'll send them a random array of emojis, and I know that they're now sitting there going, I don't know this
like
guy.
Deciphering.
They're trying to figure out what hieroglyphic message I sent them, and all I honestly did was just scroll through and pick stuff.
So it was actually at random, and you are. That's essentially like sort of like a mischievous, like kind of like a puckish or Loki-ish type move, because people would actually try to decipher.
They're gonna because
they spend time. Yeah, what does he mean?
Anybody who knows me just goes, these are just random pictures.
Right.
I don't care.
Uh-huh.
And then anybody who doesn't know me, you would, if somebody sends you a bunch of random emojis, you'd be like, this has to be a sentence. There has to be some meaning to this, because why would you send?
Right. Well, it depends on the type of person you are, because I think I would give up too. Like I would. Even if I would just feel like I have no idea. If he did mean anything, he's obviously insane, and or else this is hilarious. You know, it's funny. This is a funny thing.
It's like older people just think that the kids know.
Uh-huh.
This must mean something. Why would somebody put these serious fucking pictures next to each other?
Well, everything is essentially just kind of like you're in a beautiful mind, and it's just like strings to news articles leading everywhere. It's like, don't you see the trail? So Bronson, you were saying. So you were on a filmmaking hiatus. You were on a comedy hiatus. Is that sort of a pattern that you want to give me the rundown? The sort of the
brief
little bio,
life.
Sure, man, go for it.
Okay, basically, I started college my freshman year. I thought I was going to be a doctor. I determined I didn't like hanging out with all the nerds I was hanging out with. I transferred schools to University of Colorado because I knew I could get in there, and I wanted to go skiing. And then when I was there, I started taking some film studies classes and realized I really loved film and TV. And wanted to work in that. So I got a film studies degree and then a journalism degree, two separate ones. Which the journalism, actually, I think they both kind of help in stand-up, because journalism it's how to tell a story.
Sure.
And so then I was in the University of Colorado Boulder, stayed in Boulder and then Denver from 92 to 95, so for 3 years. And I was just working on production on whatever would come through town. So I was like a production coordinator on a movie of the week, like a Lifetime thing where some hospital disasters, that sort of stuff. Commercials. The next, you'd be on a commercial, you're a boom operator, because those little towns, it's sort of like you do whatever is necessary to do it, and they have their A crew that's always sort of working, and then the B and C crews work when the A's busy,
Yeah.
And as I'm looking around, I realized I wanted to be a director. That's what I wanted to do. And I was just looking and realizing that even unless it was some small like John Elway Ford commercial, where it's a local company. If it was like a big company coming into Colorado to shoot in the mountains, like up in Rocky Mountain National Park or something like that, that the directors and producers were always coming from New York, L.A., or if it was commercial, Chicago. Those kind of three hubs.
Definitely, yeah.
So I said to myself, well, if I want to direct movies, which was my dream, is I have to either move to New York or L.A. I grew up outside of Philadelphia, and so I just went, I'll just keep going west just so I don't backtrack.
Gotcha.
So I ended up moving out here in 1995, and within, there used to be this book. It's online now, but there used to be a book called the LA 401, and it had everything. It was about 2.5, 3 inches thick book of the resources of everything you could possibly need to shoot a commercial or music video.
Ah, okay.
So all the vendors were in there.
It's like just a big old production book, basically. Yeah.
So almost all the producers almost all the active producers were in there. The production managers, coordinators. They didn't really have a PA section because that would just be 20,000 people.
Right.
But like the DPs were in there, and so it had their agents' numbers, whatever.
Yeah.
And I went through the entire production manager thing with a highlighter, and I highlighted yellow everybody who I left a message for, because it's back in the days of answering machines and beepers. And then if I talked to somebody, then I highlighted it orange. And then if they gave me a job, I circled it with red. So I could just look at a piece of paper and go, okay, these are the people I'm actually talking to. These are who I left this.
Right.
I don't have that. If I had that kind of energy in stand-up, I would be making so much money. I'd be working.
So it didn't translate over to...
Well, I just got old, and I'm like, I don't want to do that again.
I
don't have that 25-year-old. I need it. So anyway, I started working in production on music videos, commercials, and the industry used to be very segregated. Like if you worked music videos, commercials, that was one.
Yep, I remember that. Yep.
There was television was another one, and film was another. and I really kind of so that was 1995, but my first job was like a commercial for McDonald's, where I was a PA and got yelled at by the director because I didn't know how to, like, they were like, "I'll just stand in the parking lot," because they had no use for me because I was new. And of course the director pulls in like, "Where am I supposed to park?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And he's like, "Then what use are you?" And drives away.
Right.
And then because I was coordinating out in Colorado before, is I ended up sort of getting a coordinator job right away. So I did another music video and then a Ronald McDonald commercial with actual Ronald in it.
Oh, shit.
As a coordinator. And
Nice.
then my fourth job out here was Michael Jackson's Earth Song.
Oh.
And Michael was filmed in a cornfield out in New Jersey where they made it look like a burned down rainforest. And then, so that was one part of the crew was this New York crew, and I was part of the LA crew, which then went to Africa. I got to go to Africa, but then I came home. Then they went to Croatia. Then they went to Brazil.
Holy shit!
It's a really beautiful video with a child molester.
I feel like I do remember this now. When you say it was, did they actually have to burn stuff to make it look like a burned down rainforest? Like,
no,
so
what they did is they created, like a fake burned down rainforest, like literally in a cornfield. They just leveled the cornfield and they put in fake trees that they had, pyrotechnics to do the fire.
Right.
But then what it did have is it had real footage of the crew that went to Brazil. They literally went out to where they were ripping down the rainforest and they were just filming. And they were kind of like,
footage.
They're like, "Hey, can you get this tree this way?" So they were sort of participating, but those trees were coming down anyway.
Of course.
And then there was an elephant that they wanted a dead elephant, because what happens? Michael sings so well that he spins the world backwards. It's sort of that Superman. The world goes backwards.
Beautiful.
He sings so beautifully that the club seals come back to life, and dolphins that have disappeared come back. And so there was an elephant that they were doing. There was a vet doing research on wild elephants, and sort of darting them, and then doing the research. And then what we did is we went out with him. He darted one. They put it down, and literally I'm touching an elephant. These things are so huge. African elephants are not. African elephants are not trainable. Indian elephants are trainable.
Right.
And these things are massive. And so anyway, we're there, and then so when he kind of gave it the come back to life juice, is they filmed that so it looked like that, but in post production, this is the early days of digital. Yeah, they took the tusks off and made the tusks come out. But because of all this, is there was actually bad publicity that they'd killed a real elephant. Right, and so I was taking photos on the set that we weren't supposed to be doing. Like the producers knew who I was. They're just like, "Don't show these to anybody." Right. And then all of a sudden it became, there's really, really bad press. Can we have those photos of you showing that this elephant's
needed
fine?
all the shit. Okay. I gotcha. Oh, just to.
And the one dead elephant was actually just a prop, like somebody made it. So
it was like counter propaganda. You needed to. You needed your pictures to be like, no, no animals were harmed in the making of this. But I think I feel like
at 25, I learned to love the business because I was like, what am I doing in Africa? This is crazy.
That sounds amazing, like an amazing experience. Actually, one of the things I learned about just film in general is that implicit in filmmaking, no matter what, is like for instance, like you were saying, the whole point of you filming the elephant was to spread a message of healing the world, but in essence you are destroying the world in order to get that message across.
Filmmaking is a very, very environmentally unfriendly business.
It's very destructive, and like I started on car commercials in San Francisco, so it was so it was like seriously, between every take there's a water truck that just dumps water onto the street just for the shot. And that's it. And I was just like,
who wants to look at a dry street? It's boring.
Yeah, it blew my fucking mind. I was just like, holy shit, you guys are selling cars and on top of it just wasting the water. It's just a big old fuck you to Earth. Like, we don't give a fuck about Earth at all. All right, okay.
That's really, really bad because it's just a colossal waste of water. And then also the sets. They build these massive sets.
Yeah.
With really expensive like stuff in it, and then they just tear it all down. But I think the industry, because I kind of took my hiatus around 2005, and in the early 2000s, there was companies that really were into recycling. If you have a flat, you can use it dozens and dozens of times, just paint it different ways.
Yeah.
And so they were into starting to recycle stuff. But obviously, some filmmakers are like, I don't want this in another shoot. Right. So you have to spray paint it to ruin it.
I think overall the industry has probably gotten better, just like all the other industries. But in the end, it's when it comes down to it, if it's priorities, like everything's just going to the garbage, right? Like if it's like we just got to move, get out of here, or whatever, it's like everything's just going to go to the garbage. Full bottles of water just go to the garbage. I mean, I used to empty that. I used to be a PA, so you started with the filmmaking. You were here, so that's you're saying mid '90s, mid to late '90s right now, right?
I moved out January 5th, 1995. So within the first year, I was fortunate enough to be working with a director who had to do an entire album of music videos for a Japanese rock band called X Japan.
Okay.
Which, if anybody's Japanese and you hear X Japan with Yoshiki and all those guys, they're like, what?
So they're huge. Yeah. They're huge.
They're massive. They were like the
huge in
all-star
Japan.
super
Okay,
band.
gotcha.
They play Tokyo Dome at New Year's Eve, that kind of a band.
All right, okay.
And so he had to do their whole album, and he's just burnt out. And he goes, hey, listen to this one song. Because he just loved me. He's like, listen to the song, see if you can come up with an idea. And I came back the next day with full treatment. He goes, this is amazing.
Sweet.
Co-direct it with me. So within a year, I got to direct my first thing with this guy, like, over my shoulder.
Yeah.
And it's X Japan White Poem, if anybody wants to watch it. And then I went, still coordinating, then moving up to production manager, and then moving up to producer. And slowly but surely, I started getting not more music videos, but more TV commercials and promos, TV promos. So I did a lot of that.
Wait. X Japan White Poem?
White Poem 1, even. And there's
Poem
no
1.
White Poem 2, so I don't really know why it's called White Poem 1.
No, it's kind of like Mel Brooks. It's like History of the World Part 1.
Yeah.
It's it's just an artistic flair. I think I appreciate it. All right, and then I actually saw on your website you did some like Olympic promos and stuff like that. It's
I was working with NBC in their promotional department. And so like I was actually producing shoots for them. And a couple of their people saw me do stand-up comedy, and they're like, you should be writing for us. Why are you producing? And I'm like, because producing pays more than writing, especially in copywriting versus shoot producer.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we'd like to bring you in, not full-time, but permalance kind of a thing, like a long-term freelance. And I said, well, I'll only do it if you'll let me direct things that I write that you like. And then eventually they made good on their promise, and I was standing on the side of a mountain doing a bunch of Winter Olympics things. And
nice.
Then
that must have been great too. That
was amazing.
Yeah. So you were saying you actually did stand up during this time. So when did you actually start stand up? Was that like in the middle of all this somewhere?
Well, the thing is, my stand-up, my first gigs ever were in Colorado a year after I graduated college. I did 3 open mics at Comedy Works Denver downtown, which is one of the best clubs in the whole country. But you have no concept of how good it is as an open micer.
Gotcha, yeah.
And then I didn't go back until 2016. I went back and featured for Dean Del Rey. And, I've been hearing about how great this club is. I'm like, yeah, well, technically I started there, but I didn't.
Right.
And when I went in there and saw the layout, I'm like, incredible. And I told somebody in the staff and the owner when Wendy Curtis came in, she's like, I heard you started here. I'm like, yeah, but way back. And the MC's like, should I tell him that? And I go, please don't tell the crowd that.
Yeah.
Because if I eat it, not good. And if I don't eat it, I will fucking let them know.
Right.
And that room is set up. It's set up so, it's just such a perfect place for stand-up.
Really? Yeah, I've heard so many good things about it. I've never been there. Yeah, I've heard so many good things.
The first, just the way it's laid out is they don't have tables between seats. They have armrests with multiple drink holders. So everybody's on top of each other.
Oh, that's nice. Okay,
and a slightly rigged seating.
Yeah, stadium seating a little bit. Yeah, okay.
And really low ceilings. And they're the first club to introduce the Yonder bag, the thing that locks up your cell phone.
Yeah. Smart.
And it came down to Wendy Curtis, who owns it, because we were like, these are amazing. Like once you perform in a room with them, you're like, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened in a live performance, is to get rid of the one thing that's ruined live performance.
Yeah.
Not the one thing, but something that's ruined all of our lives.
Yeah.
And she said that Dave Chappelle came in, like he blew out a week, like, hey, somebody called up, hey, Dave Chappelle wants to do your club next week. And they're like, okay. And, whoever the huge headliner is like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
But he came in with these things, and she's like, I don't know what these are, but whatever. So just lock up the phones. So your phone is on you, but you just can't.
Yeah, you can't get to it. Yeah.
And she goes, the first night she was just watching him, he's just crushing, and she's like, wow, it's Dave Chappelle. And then by the third night, she's like, yeah, it's Dave Chappelle, but nobody crushes this hard, this long in today's world anymore. Like it used to be, but it's not. And then she goes, it's because it's not today's world anymore, because their phones are locked up. So people are actually...
He's forcing them to pay attention.
Yeah, basically. He's making them not lose attention.
Yeah. Well, the phone is so addictive. It's an attention device that's addictive as fuck. So that means that even Dave Chappelle can't compete. You know what I mean? Dave Chappelle live in front of you cannot compete with cell phones. Like he had to actually come up with a solution.
It's like part of the solution. It's part of the thing is that he doesn't want to be filmed.
And
then the other part is that it was just amazing because being on stage, once you really realize how good it is, is you realize that because you keep seeing cell phones out there, and then you realize, oh, those aren't cell phones; those are the waitresses ordering things. So then you can just basically, as you're on stage performing, you can just basically track where the waitresses are because they're the only lights that are moving around the room, and so that's where I did my first open mics. But then I moved out here and I was working on film, and I did stand up as a sort of I was a hobbyist, once a month.
But you just like felt something in you, obviously, from way back when was like, I want to do stand. I want to do this. Okay, so you did always want to do it. That's cool.
I just loved watching it when I was a kid, and my first open mics, I loved it. It was just that I was so fixated on becoming a director. And then what happened is, so I was still doing stand up as just a hobby.
Yeah.
And I was building my director's reel and getting good and making money, which I don't make now.
Yeah.
And I quit for 5 years, 2003, kind of quit, just because I just didn't have time.
Yeah.
And also, I was leading the life where somebody would call me and be like, "We need you in New York tomorrow," and you just grab your bag and go.
Yeah.
You have a jump bag. You literally have a bag that's already packed, just like, fuck it.
Yeah.
And you start canceling enough gigs, nobody's ever going to hire you again.
Yeah.
And so I was just kind of like, whatever. And then in 2008, the recession hit, so everything slowed down. There wasn't much production work. Mm-hmm. And because I owned a company with my brother at this point, everybody's calling us all the time, and it's so annoying that I realized, oh, wait, that's me with my clients.
Right.
So I need to slow down on my phone calls to them because I can call them once every 2 months, but you call them every week. They're like, dude, we told you there's nothing. We're dying here.
Yeah,
but we're dying here, and my crew's dying here. And I just started doing stand-up again just to blow off steam. And within a couple of months, I was like, I don't care if I'm ever on another set because stand-up is freeing. And because I used to be very observational, like Seinfeld was my hero.
Right.
And then when I came back, it's kind of, I started with that sort of stuff because that's what I'd already written. But eventually I started just screaming at the corporations and
like a madman. Yeah, okay. which I saw, which I thought was awesome.
When you watch my really, really early tapes, you're like, it's better written. It's way better written than what I do now.
Sure.
Because right now I get up and talk, and I'll figure it out by the fifth time. It's locked it in.
Right.
But in the beginning, it was all like word for perfect, and it was about nothing.
Right.
Seinfeld.
You were just more of like a set-up punch type person. It didn't really matter if there was a theme or not. It was just essentially joke after joke. Yeah.
And I finally realized what people said is, because I remember somebody's like, "Bron, you're really, really funny," and I'm like, "Thanks," and he goes, "But I don't know who you are."
Yeah.
And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And it didn't occur to me until later when I came back and I just started talking. That I'm like, if you don't know who I am after I'm off stage now, I really don't know what you're like.
Yeah, then you weren't paying attention.
Because I'm truly just myself, and I don't really give a fuck if I'm funny. That's a side effect.
Which I think is one of the great things about stand-up is that it's one of the last places where you can actually just be honest, try just to be yourself. That's sort of something about that is, I think, especially nowadays, it's just rare. It's even more, everything's so manufactured. Everything's just so carefully curated, manufactured, or in these little snippets of like manufactured reality that, people don't, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like, well, actually, I think it was Doug Stanhope talking about that same thing about like how he wants to know who you are as a comedian.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, like Mitch Hedberg, even though he was a one-liner comedian, you still know who the guy is. You know what I mean? Like it comes through. Like
he's a unique character the way that, because Stephen Wright was sort of the first guy. Like I'm sure there were one-liner guys before Stephen Wright.
Yeah, of course.
But he's the first guy to really crack nationwide.
Right.
And there was just such a stoner kind of like, I'm high, or maybe I'm a super genius, but it's weird.
Right.
Versus Hedberg, where it's not. It's the same style, but he's much more of a looking down, and you're like, oh, he's very, very high. Not intellectual high, just like
right.
But and the jokes, genius.
Well, yeah, and Hedberg was kind of like, that's like a jazz man right there. Yeah. That man is a high on heroin, and it's just flowing through. but he's not putting on a character. He's not putting on a construct through which the jokes go through. I mean, he is and he isn't.
Well, you say that, but I don't know what he's like.
That's true. I mean,
one of the weirdest things I've ever saw, and I think he did it once, and I don't think he ever did it again, was there's a clip somewhere, and I saw it. Stephen Wright breaks character when he's on the couch, and it destroyed everything.
Interesting. Yeah,
it's sort of like if you look at Bobcat Goldthwait.
Yeah.
Is whenever he was on the couch on those shows, he was doing all that and all the crazy. And now, as an older guy, he's doing straight stand-up, and he doesn't do any of those weird voices and stuff. And it's just so weird because you realize, oh, that was just an act.
Right.
And
Exactly.
so with Hedberg, I'd never met him, so I don't know. I'm like, how much?
Well, I
or
mean,
how just stoned and weird was he just walking? Because some of those people are that weird walking around.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess we'll never know, but like, I feel
we
like
can ask people who knew him.
Well, that's true. I'm sure we can. No, probably will never meet those people. Is what it is. But I hear like Emu Phillips is kind of like that. You know, like I feel like there's that sort of that time period where there were these comics that sort of
quirky,
just weirdos though, but. I don't know. A lot of them, you kind of had the feeling that they were genuinely weird. You know, like that. It wasn't an act. Like it was. Like
I will tell you, Emo's out there doing stand-up again.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I've seen him out there. Yeah.
And
he's hilarious, man. Like
I still
still
trying to get him to do my show, which I
oh really?
I
Okay.
would love.
Oh, dude,
I remember him from when I was a kid. 13, 14, 15
Yeah.
years old, seeing him.
Yeah. I saw him when I was a kid too, and his Twitter is hilarious. I mean, he's still funny.
Oh, I got to check out his Twitter.
Yeah, he's funny. So I don't like that's. I feel like that's the thing about comedians that I've seen who get older. You just see that you're just kind of like lifers, you know. It's just basically you're just like, well, I make this joke about how I do it because I'm a sick person, you know. Like it's just I just have to. It's like I don't even know what I want out of it anymore. It's just honestly I just like have to do it, you know. Like I just have to keep doing it, and I mean, obviously I like making people laugh.
You've just voiced what. You voiced in fewer words what goes through my head.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, so you understand.
I used to have this goal list of like, okay, I want to get on one of the late night shows, and then I want to do this, and I want to play these clubs, and I want to do this theater, and then I want to move, move to stadium, like that whole goal thing. And now I'm just kind of like, I don't really give a shit. I know I have a gig tonight, and I'm doing it. And I keep booking these gigs, and I'm like, well, what's the end goal? And I go, really, the end goal is just to be standing there with a microphone.
Yeah, just to do it.
I don't care if I'm in Madison Square Garden or.
It's a lot like cocaine, where the point of it is to just do more. You know, just keep doing it until you die. Just do it until it's all gone. Like essentially, I mean, yeah. Instead of cocaine, do stand up. Stand up is better for you. I think for me, I had a similar journey to you, except I think if I was smarter, I would have started stand up earlier. But I did film. First, and then I went broke doing film because I kept shooting like comedy videos. I just kept shooting them, like paying for them myself.
You're spending your own money?
I was spending my own money like
Christ,
a moron.
What's the matter with you?
Yeah, exactly. I was retarded. But
that's not a filmmaker. That's a homeless person in the making.
Exactly.
That's
that was my goal, I guess. And so basically, I ruined everything that I built up. No, I really had nothing. But I built. My credit, I ruined my credit, and I have some sweet comedy videos, which I still stand by. And
you ruined your credit for IMDb credits?
No, for just YouTube.
Like, not even.
For two YouTube views. For 2 views on YouTube. And it was worth it, I tell you. This is why I'm not a capitalist or a businessman. A good, I need a business manager is really what it is. But yeah, dude, like I went broke, so then I started figuring a lot of these sketches I feel like are maybe just premises to jokes. Like I don't know. At some point I just thought maybe I would start just going on stage and trying these out, and then it became a quicker route to the laugh, and then it just became like stand up for me became just like the crack version of what I was seeking through filmmaking. Like like that's what it just kind of felt like to me, is like everything got reduced down to like, oh, this is instantaneous, but in the same way. I don't know if you've ever done crack. I mean, I've never really actually.
I've never done crack. I feel like I've done so many other drugs.
Yes. Well, I mean, you in terms of anything that's like either coke or speed or whatever, anything that gives you a rush and then you come down and you want more. Like I felt like
my old joke about cocaine was cocaine's the drug that makes you feel like a new man. The problem is 20 minutes later, that new man wants some cocaine. Or no, that new man wants to feel like a new man.
That's which is exactly that is the draw of it. And stand-up's the same. It's like that exhilaration. When you hit a new tag or hit a new joke or fucking crush a room or whatever, that feeling that you can't describe. It's so high, but then it's gone, then it's just it's gone.
The weirdest thing is the more you do this, because it's a craft, meaning you just get better and better by doing it more and more. Although I do see people out there that I saw from before I quit who are still out there, and I'm like,
and of course,
this person,
they're
doing new jokes, so it's not like they're doing the same act, but I'm like, they still suck. How could you still? And they're doing it 3-5 nights a week.
Right.
Like, how do you have this many sets under you and you still suck at this?
Yes.
You'll do it.
Right. I mean, there is no one answer.
Yeah.
You know, that's the whole thing. Like, some people have it, some people don't. Some people work hard, some people don't.
Back to the emotional aspect. Is it used to be if I had a bad set,
Uh-huh.
I would be emotionally crushed for days.
Yeah.
Because
I've been there.
back when
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't have gigs, like now, I'm gigging every night, if
Uh-huh.
not multiples, if I feel like it. You know, and so if I have a bad set, I'm just like, it sucked, and I just move on to the next one.
Yeah.
I just put it behind me, or I'll actually go through it. Like, all right, when did it start sucking? What did I do? What did they do? You know,
Yeah.
you can actually analyze it and
Get
like,
less emotional about it.
and then, but it's also when you have one of those sets where you just crush.
Yeah.
Is it that high used to sit with me for hours or a day?
Yeah. Same.
And now it's like literally I get off
Yeah.
stage and I'm like, well, that's not going to happen again for a while.
Right. That's a fluke. That crowd was just dumb. It's really
Now I'm going to stand by the exit and listen to them fucking like say, yeah, you're great. And then they're all going to leave. I'm going to go home alone still.
right.
So
yeah, none of this matters. Yeah,
none of this matters. I just want the time with the mic. Why didn't they take the mic?
Yeah, this is actually more about me. Actually, this is
Probably why comedians are all doing their podcasts. They're like, I'm booking my own stage time.
Oh, exactly.
We're
Yeah.
just obsessed with this. This is what I'm doing right here with the mic
What
in my hand.
else do I want to do but just speak into a microphone? Just assume people want to listen. I mean, that's just. But I think people do want to listen. I think there is definitely a need for people who have a hunger to hear certain things that they get through podcasts. Podcasts, I feel like, even more than stand-up now, is the platform where you can speak freely. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people just speak freer than they speak in conversation, you know?
If you think about because I remember when the internet first started having internet radio, where people were actually making, so basically they were podcasts.
Right.
But they were either live streaming, and they didn't really realize that, we'll just take the clip and we send it to a central place, and they just store all of them, and then people can find.
Yeah.
But the premise behind it is we're doing talk radio.
Yeah.
With $0 or $20 a month for Libsyn.
Right.
To host my shit after I invested $300 in this crap.
Right.
And then the rest is just my time doing it, and so there is no barrier to entry to have it. And really, you look at something like Joe Rogan being the most popular programming in all media at this moment, is that's just started with a couple dudes.
Yeah.
Or like Mark Maron, a dude in a garage.
Right.
And it became, sitting there with Barack Obama was in Maron's garage, or Bernie Sanders just did Rogan.
Yeah. No, huge.
Yeah.
It was Bernie, fucking Andrew Yang, Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, presidential candidates actually going on the Joe Rogan podcast. That's crazy. Well, one of the things, I used to work in like cable TV and shit, and so some traditional media, and like there's just some pretty open contempt, for Joe Rogan or just really independent media in general, like YouTubers or whatever from the traditional media. And it's actually it's very interesting to see, because I'll see like these New York Times articles about how YouTube's like radicalizing people and stuff like that. But on the other hand, I'm like, but you're the Times, like people read you and like we'll get, you know what I mean? Like we went to the war. I mean, you didn't do anything to stop us going to the Iraq war. You know what I mean? Like so it's not necessarily like, I don't know. It just feels like.
Well, that paper. The one thing, because as a journalism major, I'll say the one thing going for the New York Times is it started as a paper of record, and it was supposed to be unbiased, objective. Where there was an editorial comment.
Yeah.
There was literally a section, the editorials, where this is people's opinions. This is what we think. This is where we're endorsing candidates. But the rest of it was supposed
news.
to be.
Yeah, it's hard news. Yeah.
Objective.
The Great Lady.
Let me give you information. You figure out how you feel about it.
Yeah.
And then cable TV, like the CNNs and all, because I was in journalism school when the first Iraq war hit. And that's when CNN exploded, because it was 24/7 coverage with Wolf Blitzers standing there with, the Scud
the
missile
green
sirens
shit
and,
and the fucking, and just being like, glorifying the shit.
And that and the OJ thing really it changed the media landscape completely that's around us.
So it's really murder and war that launched this media empire that we're now under, basically. It is. I mean, if it bleeds, it leads. I mean, it's essentially now, but that's now just how we got our president. You know what I mean? That's sort of like, now it's just writ large. I feel like there's almost no check on the, I feel like once the media merged with profiteering, that when that became the bottom line, as opposed to like truth or safeguarding the public or something,
It used to be when the airwaves when basically there were 3 networks. There was ABC, NBC, CBS, and the reason there were only 3 is because bandwidth was very expensive to buy by getting a national network. So then Fox joined in as number 4.
Right.
Before they were like sort of like the UHF channels. That,
yep.
And so they joined in and became a major network. But they were always the baby boy. But then all of a sudden Fox became The Simpsons.
Yep.
I can't believe that show's still in there. That's incredible.
Over 30 years. Yeah.
And then when cable hit, it really changed that whole landscape. But basically, back in those days, is the news divisions were funded and they were their own separate entities, so they could shit all over Kellogg's or whoever, Coca-Cola or Pepsi,
the advertisers,
like whoever did something wrong, they could talk about it.
Yeah, of course.
They were an independent, self-run. They had their own ombudsman. They were their own entity, and they did not have to answer to the advertisers. And then cable came around. And because then it becomes, anybody anywhere can put on a cable, put on a news show, and then all of a sudden, then they realized, with things like Crossfire, like, people care more about people yelling at each other than they do about actually getting any information.
Right.
And then TV moved from being, think about it, Ronald Reagan was an actor. He became a president. Yeah. This is not a new thing.
No.
Like, and it's the same way that the actors were like, oh my God, reality stars are stealing our fame.
Reagan. Like, I always talk about Reagan too. See, that's the thing. I think it's because we're older. We remember that there was a fucking actor
Sonny
in
Bono.
office. Yeah, actors started becoming politicians. It's pretty openly. Yeah.
Gomer from,
Gomer.
Not Gomer. Gopher from Love Boat. He was a congressman.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah. So people use fame to get
Clint Eastwood, Jesse Ventura. Fucking.
It's not new, but now we've lowered the bar to allowing people who are just morons who happen to be famous get power.
Right. But I think at the same time, that's, to me, it's all symptomatic of our culture, right? Like all of it, like the fact that, I feel like, to me, our culture is always represented by whoever's president at the time, right? Like whoever is president at the time, that is us, right? Like, so Obama was us, George W. Bush was us, like they're all us, Trump is us, they're all a reflection of us, our psyche, and like who we want up there. And we live in a reality. The news has essentially become this drama, this just high-pitched melodrama where Trump is the evil man and they're trying to fight, for whatever justice or whatever, but all of it is this sort of transparent money-making sort of like circuit. It just seems like, it just...
That's my whole thing is like, like I have friends, especially being comedians, you have friends who are like hyper conspiracy theorists. The more they talk to each other, the further down this rabbit hole they go.
Sure.
And they're always, like, oh, this is Illuminati, and I go, there's a very simple answer. It's called greed.
Yeah, I don't think it's...
And the people who have a lot of money want more money, even though they don't need it.
Yeah.
And what's happened is everybody's figured out the system, and what took them, years and years of building capitalism to figure out is they're now masters of it, and they can make these cycles happen fast, and they realize, we can manipulate the politicians and not pay any taxes, and our wealth is. Yeah. So I mean, they are in the end. It's going to be it has to collapse. It can't continue in this fashion.
Well, as long as they just keep extracting wealth, I think the people, something's going to give. Yeah, something that people are going to, or some disaster, anything. Basically, they're getting. I feel like the country since 9/11 has slowly eroded to the point where any number of things could cause a systemic collapse. So it could be the economy, it could be a tidal wave, it could be a terrorist attack. It could be anything, or it could be all three. We're sort of putting ourselves in a highly vulnerable position. I think mostly because of all the war. We've been attacking everybody.
Yeah, but I don't know when the last time you read 1984 was. Is I reread it about 10 years ago because
not that long ago. Yeah. I actually just read it. Yeah.
Maybe 6 years ago. It was when I came back to comedy. Eventually, I started finding I don't like to do political because it goes away real fast.
Yeah.
So Trump jokes are only funny until Trump does something stupid.
Yeah.
You try and do Trump jokes, and people are like, I don't remember that. And you're like, remember 2 weeks ago when he did this?
Yeah.
Well, he's done 50.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
And, but more gun control and more what's happening with the environment, et cetera, like social issues, like big issues, not policy, not politicians.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I should reread this book, and I did. And I almost feel like it's not prescient. It's that people looked at it and goes, oh, this is how you do things.
Right.
Instead of being a warning sign, it became a user
manual, essentially. I feel like we're living in that combination of 1984 and Brave New World, where there's because I don't think it's I think where the Western or America, whatever, but the Western sort of state smartened up is they realized we don't have to crush people into submission.
Yeah.
We could just make them willing consumers and sort of enablers of this machine. You know what I mean? Like you just make them.
You put the boot of debt on their neck.
Yeah. And now they're all complicit. Yeah, and they have to keep this machine going. Like they have to keep it all going.
I mean, think about this: is right after 9/11, one of the first things that Bush said is you have to go out and shop.
Yeah, go shop.
Otherwise, the terrorists win.
Yeah,
it's
can't
literally
go shop.
the people in charge, the people with money went, no, this could collapse our economy because people
are scared. Yeah,
or people might start fucking shopping rationally.
Oh right.
People might stop
People might start using their yeah.
Like I've done that especially because. You know, when I used to work in commercials and advertising and whatever, I had money to throw around, and like I was six figures a year, and
sure. Oh yeah, the ad money, yeah.
And it was just ridiculous. So every time a new iPhone came out, I had it.
Sure.
You know, whatever, cars, blah blah.
Yeah.
And but now that I don't anymore, it's taken me a good 5 years to really like rein my spending in. Because it was like I have credit out the ass, and I had my old savings account, retirement account, which is now officially burned through.
Yeah, there you go. Just like a comic, yeah.
But now it's like It's like I actually made the decision. A lot of it came with traveling around the world. It's like everything I needed for 8 weeks was in my backpack.
Yeah.
And I really went, why do I have all this shit around me? Because every time I move, I'm getting rid of so much shit.
Right.
And like the less shit I have, the freer I feel.
Yes.
And so I'm trying to get other people to do it. I saw this in, Oprah or Dr. Phil or some shit 15, 20 years ago. There was somebody talking about shopaholics and people who they're just consuming to feel like they need something because they don't need anything. And they were really like, if you really want to cut your spending, the thing you need to do is when you're walking through the store and you're like, oh my God, I got to have this bag or I got to have these jeans.
Yeah.
Is that she goes, pick them up, really look at them, really analyze them and think about how great you're going to look at them and then put it back down.
Right.
And come back in 15 minutes if you still want it. And what'll happen 9 out of 10 times is you'll be like, I don't give a shit.
You don't
about
want
this.
it. Yeah, because of that impulse. Yeah. That impulse. Do you do any kind of like meditative practice or anything like that? Like any sort of any kind of.
You asked me this question now, yes, but if you asked me this question 12 days ago, or what's the date now? The 15th. If you asked me this question 16 days ago, I'd be like, no.
So you just started some kind of or trying.
I'm on this crazy health thing that I told you about.
Yeah. And
I don't. Actually, when is this coming out?
Like next week.
Okay, I can tell because I'm doing something. Basically, I've been on this crazy mission to lose 37 pounds in 7 weeks, so I can jump out of this airplane.
Right. Yeah.
And I realized the first thing, and I needed to lose the weight, and I needed to do all this stuff. I needed to take care of myself. But I'm the kind of guy who drinks 6-pack, 12-pack every night. I'm huge. For anybody listening, I'm 6'7" inches tall.
He's a large man. He's a big man.
262 pounds. I'm down to 248.
Right.
Come on,
dude.
In 15 days. And
of course, I mean, to get a visual for everyone, he's not like an obese. I mean, this is a large man. This is like a big dude. But he's not like a big fat man. Like he's a big guy. He's a big. You know what I'm saying?
My stomach has the egg thing.
But, I mean, yeah.
No, because it's a funny thing is I was talking about it on stage because all I talk about when I'm hosting is just what's happening in my life. And I was saying, I need to get my weight from 262 to 225 so I can jump out of a plane. And people are like 225 is not a lot, and I go, it's a lot. 220. Or people are like, how are you over 225? And I go, if you're over 6'7", you're 225 just by being like. If I was a marathon runner, I'd probably be 215.
Right. I mean, just your bones. Like,
so imagine being 10 pounds heavier than a marathon runner.
Right.
That's me.
So that's skinny as fuck for you.
Yeah,
that's like super skinny. Yeah.
When I hit this number, because I'm going to just based on. I'm in a bet with my buddy, and there's no way I'm going to lose to my Green
Fuck
Beret
yeah.
buddy.
Hell yeah. Get that ego going.
Looking at me.
Hell
like,
no.
Hey, I'm going to jump out of a plane today. Oh, that's right. You couldn't jump out of the plane.
You're too fat.
I told you could lose the weight. I even set everything up.
You don't want a Green Beret busting your balls. I feel like that's hey, you want him to be like, yeah, that was good. Good for you, bro.
No, I mean, he's totally on my side. But
right.
I don't want to let him down.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
He's
the
nicest, sweetest guy in the world.
Right. Yeah.
And but in my mind, it's just funnier to be like, oh, he's an asshole. Even though he's totally not.
What gives you some motivation?
So to answer your question is I've had all these attempts that I've done at meditation or whatever.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we're comedians, so we're out at night, and you get hammered.
Yeah.
You come home, you sleep all day, whatever. And so part of this losing the weight thing is the very first thing is I go, the drinking's done.
Right. Yeah, it's got to. Yeah.
It's so many carbs, but it slows your metabolism. It slows your brain. It makes you feel shitty.
Right.
And so, yeah, I'm proper diet and I'm exercising. But I also bought an Apple Watch. And I never thought I would, like, unsolicited. This is the greatest thing I've ever. This is
Really?
the greatest piece of technology I've ever added to my life. I cannot believe how good it is. And I thought they were the dumbest things ever. Right?
Okay.
And I'm not, like, I own a slight amount of Apple stock, but I'm selling it all in the next couple of days because I need it to live.
Okay, so that's full disclosure.
Full disclosure. But I used to be the super tech guy, and I was like, who needs the watch? This is why it's the best. If you're working out, if I get on the elliptical and I start on the elliptical, I didn't know it did this function until all of a sudden my wrist vibrated. I looked down and thought I had it because it vibrates for text or whatever, and then you can talk into it, get your text back. Is my thing. So I thought, oh, cool, I'm on the elliptical. I hate this. I'm bored and listening to music.
Yeah.
And I looked at my watch and it says, are you on an elliptical right now?
Get out of here. So it knows that you were on a fucking...
Yeah, because it saw my heart.
It's the motion and the heart rate. Okay,
yeah. It does my heart rate.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so it's noticing that my heart rate's going up and it's sustaining, and also that we're not moving anywhere on the GPS, but my arm's doing this motion, and I guess they figured out that's what this is. And if I'm on, like, because I live a mile, the beach is exactly a mile down, right? So I'll walk down there to get, like, if I'm just buying, like, not groceries, but, a couple small things, or the bars where I hang out all the time. I'll still hang out there sober, just because my buddies are there. Is if I'm walking at a brisk pace, all of a sudden it vibrates and goes, are you on an outdoor walk?
Yeah, are you on
And I'm like,
so wow, because it can tell on GPS you're actually in motion, like on the street.
So it's keeping track of all my calories being burned, how long I'm exercising. There's something on here that I didn't set up. It default is on. I can turn it off. It's called Breathe. And all of a sudden, like I think it's about 4 hours or so, my wrist will vibrate, and I'll look down, and there'll be this little beautiful watch-looking thing. Let's see if I can find it. See that little? It looks like a little blue flower.
Look at that.
And that's the Breathe thing. And if I start it, it'll just say, hey, just chill out, focus on your breathing, and all of a sudden,
I gotcha. So it's like sort of helps you
it's
with
a
your
reminder.
It's a reminder.
Yeah.
Sure.
And honestly, I never thought I would be this attached, literally, physically, to a piece of technology.
Yeah.
This thing is, for me personally, for what I'm doing right now, game changer.
Well.
So.
Well, you heard it here, guys.
Yeah.
iWatch, get it. That's
the
Apple Watch. It's an Apple Watch or whatever.
And don't waste your money. Get the extra $100 one. That's a phone in case you leave your phone at home. You get this because it's $10. Like they're like, it's $100 more, but it's got your phone on it. So that way, if you leave your phone at home, you still have your phone here. And
you don't need that. Yeah.
I guess if I run out of battery all the time, that's cool. But I'm like, I don't want to pay an extra $10 a month with T-Mobile and $100 to Apple.
I wonder if the watch will get good enough where it'll vibrate and be like, hey, are you jacking off right now?
I'm sure somebody has the app. They just Apple won't let it on.
They probably have all the metrics, but they're just like, that's a hidden feature. It's like, yeah, he's definitely jerking it right.
And so I'm using. So basically, this device is keeping track of all my calories I'm burning. And then, so what I didn't say about this. So to jump out of this airplane, my buddy set me up to work out with the Army once a week.
Yeah.
So they basically. And now all the training I do during the week isn't to lose the weight. The training is so I don't collapse.
Humiliate yourself in front of the Army guys.
They're all 19 years old. They're getting ready to ship off, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, and they're looking at me like they're trying to work out so they can go to boot camp. They're pre-recruits, so they're either still in school.
They're young.
Or also when you sign up for the Army, it's not like, hey, you go to boot camp tomorrow. It's like now it's like 6 months from now we'll take you in.
Yeah.
And so they're working out so that when they get to boot camp, they're physically fit. Or I guess enough. America, we have such an obesity problem that so many kids are unfit to join the Army.
Yeah.
It's a national defense problem.
It's a real problem. Yeah.
And actually, I figured that out when
fat Army.
Remember I was talking about reading 1984? I was literally sitting in this Starbucks in my little hometown, right? The Starbucks is brand new. And sitting there reading 1984, and then there was a newspaper laying around, so I grabbed the newspaper. It's just like, oh, cool. I'm just going to hang out for the day. Avoid the family, even though I love my family. It's just like, sometimes I just want to be alone.
Yeah.
And I read this article about how too many kids are too fat or too out of shape and too fat because we don't have physical education anymore.
Right.
Sports have been cut. Physical has been cut. Yeah. And that and how the diet, even the food that in the school is the unhealthiest, is worse than McDonald's.
Oh yeah.
And people are like, they just support them, this body positivity, which I'm like, yeah, don't make people feel shitty about themselves, but help their body feel better about themselves.
Be healthy. Yeah.
So anyway, and they were talking about how there were generals and stuff saying we got a real issue because some of the best and brightest can't join,
right?
Because they're not. So
they're not.
So
fit.
what I'm doing is there's a couple kids in there who are slightly they're working their way so that when they get to basic, they can actually pass the physical.
Oh,
And then,
gotcha.
so it's a bunch of 19-year-olds and then this 49-year-old man.
Nice.
And all the kids are just looking at me like, who the hell is this old dude? All of the like, there's a captain in charge and then a staff sergeant, and then I'm training with a sergeant. And they all know that, listen, Lieutenant Colonel Flood has said that this guy's jumping out of an airplane.
Right,
and
right.
We need to help him do this. Because I'm so bad about this. I'm supposed to be tweeting and texting about it because he's part of recruitment now.
Oh, okay. So you're trying
he's out of
to.
the field because what I'm doing is I'm making it look like, hey, wouldn't it be fun to join the Army? Look at me. I'm out here playing soccer with these kids.
Look at me, guys.
I'm jumping out of a plane. The Army's awesome.
It's
So,
sweet, bro. Yeah.
I'm totally being used as a pawn to sell
Right.
something. That
Military industrial complex. Well, you know what? We're all beholden to it. You know what? I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for the Korean War. So, you know, like I can't. You know, what about U.S. Army all the way? Well, actually, we should wrap up in a bit. But before we go, one thing I noticed was in your list of credits, one of the things you worked on was a show called All Worked Up, which which I told you as well. I used to work.
I haven't even found that episode. I don't even know where it is.
You
used to work on the show?
I used to work at not on the show, but I used to work at True TV in New York, and I cut clips from All Worked Up and all that. I was there during that time at True TV where they're doing all that weird reality shit, like all the fake reality stuff. So I definitely cut tons of clips. I was there from the All Worked Up to Lizard Lick Towing transition, and where because the breakout stars from that show were these like North Carolina towing dudes or whatever.
Dude, speaking of True TV stars. The Impractical Jokers.
Oh, dude, yeah.
I'm friends with Sal, one of the nicest guys.
I've heard it. I've met them actually.
Never met a nicer guy than I don't know the other guys. I've never met because Sal does stand up too.
Yeah.
One of the nicest guys in the
They're
world.
all very nice.
And
very nice.
I had no concept of how big it was.
Huge.
Until he was like, "Oh, we're going to Europe on this tour." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." And I'm like, "Where are you playing?" And he goes, "Oh, well, we're opening at the O2 Arena."
Yeah.
And I had just seen. Like a year before I was over in the UK and I saw the Monty Pythons there in that room set up for comedy where the stage is at the end, 16,000 people.
Ooh.
And I was like, and long story short, I was very close to the stage, I'm not telling you why. But I was looking up and I'm looking, whenever I'm in a big, huge crowd and I'm near the front, I was always turn around and I go, I want this. I want this crowd.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there and I'm looking up at 16,000 people and I go, someday I'm going to be on that stage.
Right.
I want to look up. Not from where I am, but slightly, about 50 feet over there. That's where I want to be sitting.
And then Sal.
And then when Sal told me he was doing it, I'm like, dude, can I please do a guest set? I will fly myself to London because I can do gigs over there and make my money to come back.
Yeah.
I'm like, Kenny, he goes, we could probably work that out. And I'm like, because you are literally living my literal dream. My actual, like if I had
that's something you wanted.
It's to stand on the O2 Arena and look up.
That's dope.
I'd prefer to be on the marquee, but I'll take the fun.
Right, yeah. That's fucking awesome. Yeah.
Sorry about it. So you're at True TV. You're working on All Worked Up.
I'm just saying that. Do you remember anything about the experience of? Because I'm assuming you must have been in California when that was shooting, right? Because were you on it? Like, were you?
So
you must have been an actor on it or something.
Saw All Worked Up. There was I don't know if they used her real name on the show. There's a meter maid who lived
Jackie.
Here.
Yeah.
Jackie. Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Was that were you in one of those segments?
So Jackie is a legitimate, or she's retired now.
Yeah,
but she was a legitimate meter maid here in Venice. And she's a true character, true 100% character.
Gotcha.
Where the nicest, sweetest person. Like one time, I was sitting outside of a coffee shop with her, and we were looking at like somebody's computer, and she was on her break. And somebody came up, and they're like, they see her, and they're like, hey, I'm just gonna go inside and get quarters and stuff. She goes, I'm on my break, honey. I don't care. Do whatever you got to do. Right? The nicest person that way, or like literally the locals, is I parked in my alley next to a dumpster once, and one of my stupid, like not in this building, but a different building. One of my asshole neighbors called the city to have my car towed because it was in the way. And so the first thing that comes is a ticket. She comes in and literally recognizes my car and just phones me and goes, Bron, move your car. Come on.
Nice.
I don't want to give you a ticket.
Cool.
You know,
so she was like knew you. Yeah. She was like a neighborhood fixture.
She's a total neighborhood local. She's actually on one of the murals in Venice.
So her as a person she was actually a real meter maid and a real figure.
Yeah, she just couldn't wear the actual uniform.
Gotcha. On for camera.
Like it was, she was actually trying to use the actual LA,
right?
And they're just like, no, because the script is not real, and it's got to go through this whole division, blah blah blah.
Right. Overall, everything was fiction because I recognized. I mean, when I'm cutting it, like these are all actors. This is clearly fake.
And bad acting because they didn't give us a script. They're just like, okay, so
Just make something up?
So wait, so here's this is the two funniest things she ever did is one time I was like, if you go all the way down like via Marina or Pacific Avenue, it kind of loops around because you hit the Marina, and there's these parking meters there. And I used to every now and then I'd go to these parking meters and I would just sit there and just kind of like lay back in my car, put my feet up out the window, and just zen out, just looking at sailboats going out to sea, right? And I remember one time I was sitting there and I used to have this big Toyota truck so I could do it, and all of a sudden I hear, if you want me to put the ticket between your toes, I can do that. Or you can get out and pay the meter right now. And I was like, all right, Jackie, I'll pay the meter. And she goes, good, thanks. And
Nice.
so super fun.
Yeah.
But if you step to her, because people are yelling at meter maids all the time.
Yeah.
She will rip your fuck. Like every now and then she'd be in the middle of talking to me about something nice. Somebody comes running over to yell at her. And she would turn around, and I'd be like, Jesus. Like, literally, like, full change, like,
Right.
Gollum to fucking
Yeah,
Smeagol or
exactly.
whatever.
The evil. She lets the evil
Where you're just
out.
like, what the
Yeah.
you ripping someone's head off verbally, and
right. And then back to
and
you.
then turning back and being like, yeah, so we're gonna go, and she also does comedy. Yeah, so we're gonna go up to the John Lopez Comedy Club. Blah, blah, blah. And I was
She's
like,
a stand-up too. That's hilarious.
was
Well,
like,
then that's
how?
hilarious.
Yeah.
That's so she just lights people up, roasts people or whatever. That's
so
awesome.
the episode I'm on, so I'm not proud of it because it was like, you weren't really given a script. You're just kind of like, so the episode I'm on, because I own a Harley, it's like, we're gonna park your Harley illegally. She's gonna come up and ticket it, and you're gonna scream and yell at her. You're gonna grab her ticket book and you're gonna throw it into the water, like literally where she told me to not. So she put a ticket in my toes. We're 100 feet from there. And it just becomes just this loud screaming match where it's just like, I'm sure as an editor you're like, dude, give me someplace to cut.
Like, what is this? Yeah.
Like this is just over. It's just crosstalk and just crazy. But a couple $100 to sit outside.
Nice. I mean, it's just a shooting little scene. They're just making up scenarios and stuff. It was just so funny because they were like really trying to pass it off as real. And I would sit in a lot of these meetings, and what it really was they suddenly got this huge audience in the South. And they were responding to this kind of like fake, and that's why the lizard lick towing thing blew up, because that was like the most, those were the most popular characters in that show, which was actually a breakout show. This is all before Impractical Jokers.
Soon enough.
Yeah, right, exactly. So I think they were pretty openly hostile toward their own audience. They were like, these fucking idiot yokels will eat anything up, and so they were just kind of just making this stuff for them. But yeah, it was weird. It was a weird time to be there because they were making. It was like the whole company was making something that they really didn't believe in for people that they had to stand for. So they just felt weird.
I would say 90% of the entertainment industry is that. Because like when I worked at NBC, there was a lot of, forget the reality shows.
Yeah.
I will tell you this is, I feel like when I was in the promotion department, we worked on the show launches. So I was like part of the biggest part of the promo department is the This Week on Friends, Will Ross and Rachel, where you're doing clip spots, where you're cutting clips from the actual show for this week. I got to work in the fun part, which is the launch. So you're trying to figure out, how do we sell this new show to the American public, and can we do a little shoot, because they really only have the pilot, and there's only so many ways you can cut that for 2 months out that people are like, yeah, I've seen every joke in this goddamn thing. So you go out with the actors and you shoot stuff. But there was an enormous amount of, and so I was there. But yeah, there's a lot of like, who would watch this? And then people are like, yeah, people in the 18 to 24, the market we want, they would watch this. So it's not for, because I was younger then. But now I would be that guy going, who's watching this show with like whenever they talk about some actress or actor in trouble now, I'm like, I don't even know who that is.
Like millions of people love this person.
Like Justin Bieber's out of it, and to me, he's like the young kid, and I'm like, no.
Bieber's
35 now.
Yeah, Bieber's old to the young kids now. Yeah.
So, but I was there when they launched The Apprentice.
Nice. Zucker. Yeah, Jeff Zucker. Oh, yeah.
But Donald Trump.
Of course. Well, the two of them together,
I was
yes.
there when, like, a friend of mine, I just talked to him the other day, and he said the weirdest, so, he's there and he's actually shooting the Donald, when he's, it's just a real estate mogul. They're going to make him into a TV star.
Just some guy, yeah.
And so he said, Don said something like, people are always making fun of my hair. And my friend said to him, listen, if the only complaint people have with you is your hair, I think you're winning at life.
Right.
Don't you wish that we could go back to that moment in time?
Man.
And
I don't know.
have that show fail.
Yeah. Honestly, I think it's, you ever see how people say, like, It was the White House Correspondents' Dinner. I think it was like the 2011 one.
Where Obama makes fun of him.
Where he was like, "You will never ever be president." Basically, told him he would never ever be president, and then just left. And I think because the camera actually like zooms in on Trump, and he's just like eating and just stewing and eating, and I feel like that was the moment where he was like, "I'm gonna be president." He's like, "Oh yeah, motherfucker!" Like
I've seen like legitimate news people go, this might literally like
it could be. I mean, it's so public and so humiliating, and the dude runs on ego, and honestly, I feel like that is the danger of roast battling. You know, like you could really. We got Donald Trump because of roast battle. So Bronston, where can people find you online? Like on
all social media, I'm at Bronston Jones, which is BronSton Jones, one word.
On the social. Yep.
All the social medias.
Yep.
You can go to Bronston.com and you can look at stuff I was doing 2 to 3 years ago because I don't update it. And I also just started a new podcast called the I Yam What I Yam.
I Am What I Am.
So not I Am What I Am because somebody else already has that. It's a very religious thing, so I think their people will be very annoyed when they come to the wrong one. But it's I Yam What I Am, sort of the way Pai says it.
Yes, with the Y's.
And it's been very fun. There's only 5 episodes up, but I've had Ryan Sickler, Josh Adam Myers.
Nice.
Then some filmmaker people, and there will be... that guy who's a director now, but he used to be Van Halen's tour manager. He's got his episode's actually funnier than any stand-up comics.
Yeah, awesome. We probably got some great stories. Yeah.
And so they're all really good friends of mine, and they're people who inspire me. And now that I'm literally changing my life now, but I'm going through as I'm editing. I'm going, what a great piece of advice, and I'm actually like. Because we're all faking it that we got it together.
Yeah.
But every now and then you realize, somebody has it together slightly more than I do in this one area, and so I'm really finding.
Yeah.
I'm finding inspiration and motivation from other people.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's what I find too doing this. Well, that's the whole thing about, they say like wisdom is learning from the mistakes of other people, right? You get to learn, and really, I think that kind of came for me with age, like getting older. I realized that dude, I don't know anything.
A big part of the show is finally just going, I am what I am, and I don't care what people think. I care what certain individuals, I care about what they think and how I affect their life.
Yeah.
But when the average person comes up to me or somebody's like, you're not funny, or they start yelling at me on the internet or after a show, I just look at them like there's something going on in their life, or like I'm just not for them. I don't care.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the other reason I do the podcast is Steve Simone, who's my first guest. I love him. One of the best.
He's hilarious. Yeah.
He's one of the most joyful comedians. Like probably the only truly joyful comedian I know. Like not all the time off stage, which we talk about that, but on stage he's just spreading nothing but childhood stories and joy. Like you really kind of go back to being a 12-year-old. You're in love with life. He said on one of his podcasts, which is why I had him do my first one, is he goes, he looks at podcasting as just sharing his friends with anybody who wants to listen.
Right.
Because we have the best friends.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you want other people to listen to what we're talking about?
Yeah. And so many people out there actually crave conversations like this in life. They don't actually get to experience that. So I think that's one of the benefits of
so if you're lonely out there, I'm really glad that you listen.
Find Bronston online.
If your cubicle sucks, I'm going to give you some advice. Leave the cubicle.
Yeah.
You're going to drop dead someday.
Yeah.
Don't let that depress you, make you go, wait, if I'm going to drop dead someday, then I should live today. Not like my last, but like my first.
I mean, if you love the cubicle, stay. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you hate it, you leave because you are dying.
If you love what you're doing, all you're doing is collecting money, and that money doesn't exist. Money's not real, people.
Exactly. I mean, take it from a guy who was a commercial director. Take it from a guy who had it all, and now, but he still has an Apple Watch. He's still.
I love that stand-up comedy is like you're listening to a philosopher who lives in his car.
Well, it's essentially that's what it is. It's like you ever study philosophy like Diogenes. You know about Diogenes? He was like a dude in Athens who would like live in a bathtub and would just talk shit to people. He was like one of the cynics or something. Don't you also have a comedy show every Wednesday?
Night.
Okay.
Every Wednesday night, if I'm in Los Angeles, you will find me at the Venice Underground Comedy, which is at the Townhouse.
Townhouse, okay.
And the easiest way to find the Townhouse is if you can ask around, say, hey, where is the Venice sign? And the Venice sign is this landmark, trademark item historical landmark, and it's a Venice sign that hangs over a street. And as soon as I said that, you probably go, "Oh, I've seen that in pictures." And it's on that street between that sign and the beach. Just ask around for the townhouse.
So it's called the Townhouse every Wednesday night, so like 8 or something like that.
We open the doors at 9. Show starts at 9:30, and we get
cool.
Some of the biggest and best comedians in the planet come down there because they're off the radar. They're out of Hollywood, and they can go crazy.
Right on, man. Oh shit, I gotta check it out.
150 people show up every week.
Nice, very nice. Cool, Bronston. Well, is there anything beyond that? Is there anything you like to plug? Any dates coming up or anything like that? Right.
Live your best life.
Right on, man. Well, thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks,
great talking.
Yeah.